on. Let us move on with the next presentation. If you have any questions, we can have the questions collectively at the end of all the presentations of the session. I'd like to give the floor to the second speaker, who would be Şebnem FARZALI from Fırat University. The floor is yours, ma'am. Şebnem FARZALI. Ms. Şebnem, can you possibly hear us?
Şebnem, nice to meet you.
Şebnem Hanım, sesiniz kısık geliyor.
Şebnem, we can't hear you, no. Your sound quality is too low.
Tamam, yüksekten konuşurum hocam.
I'll do my best, but still, there's a sound problem with the lady. I'm sorry. We will be doing our best to understand her and interpret for her. First of all, I'd like to thank the rector of the university and also the FAO and the ministry for organizing this event. And I'd like to thank, as you know, in 2020, there has been a great victory in Azerbaijan. I'd like to remember the souls of I'd like to thank everybody, especially the government of Turkey, for helping us with that victory. I'd like to remember the souls of the martyrs.
I want to start my presentation by conveying my greetings and regards to all the participants. And the topic of my
excuse me, Şebnem, we cannot hear you well. Your sound quality is very low. Perhaps you could try using headsets or maybe approaching more to your laptop, because interpreters cannot hear you.
Okay. The stats of medicinal leech populations in Azerbaijan. The Azerbaijan Republic occupies a large area in Europe and Asia, in the east part of the South Caucasus and the west of the Caspian Sea. Because of geographical position of Azerbaijan, can be found that there are many different new leech species. In the fresh waters of the Caucasus were found 23 species of leech, but it has been written that 14 species can be found in Azerbaijan's wetlands. The leech fauna of Azerbaijan has been included 1 species, subspecies, and 14 species belonging to 4 families and 11 genera. There are 6 medicinal leech species that we know in the Hirudo genus in the worldwide, of which only Hirudo orientalis is found in the geography of Azerbaijan. With the development of genetic science, new leech species have been discovered in this genus and changed in some non-species names. Until 2005 years in Azerbaijan, the medicinal leech species known as Hirudo medicinalis was determined as Hirudo orientalis by Professor Tufsky and Frontage. Then, there are favorable conditions for development of medicinal leech, and it should be noted that the typical habitat is atrophic pond with a moody substratum and little vegetation and
Sunuyu görebiliyor musunuz?
high temperature.
Paylaşma değil mi?
And all of this condition we can tell Azerbaijan.
Ma'am, we cannot see your presentation. Şebnem, can you kindly pull up your slides? You haven't shared your slides. No, we can't see anything.
Alt tarafta yeşil renkli share screen seçeneği var.
Maria, do you need to give permission to Şebnem to share her screen?
Let me check, but I suppose no. Let me check.
Ha, tamam.
And dear participants, if you're not speaking, could you please mute your microphones for better interpretation? And Şebnem, please, if you could speak slower and more precise and louder, because interpreters still cannot hear you well. I mean, we as listeners do hear you somehow, but for interpretation, they need a clearer sound quality. Thank you.
Bakın şimdi görünüyor mu?
Şu an görünüyor, evet.
Ha, bunu söylesene. Tamam mı şimdi?
Evet.
Tamam. Zaten geliyor. I give information about our nature. Thus, the mentioned Leech, Hirudo found in some wetlands of Azerbaijan, including Devecheliman, Çıkızlar, Gulf, water basins of Lankaran Nature Region, lakes around Tura, Gögöl National Park, and wetlands of Nahçıvan, waters of Gencegazak region. Then I information about the Hirudo orientalis. Hirudo orientalis, just not as Professor said to give about information orientalis and the other species of the Hirudo. And now Hirudo orientalis is identify a body color of the grass green, and the length they have seen deep orange colored parabedian stripes. And the dorsal surface of the leech has segmentally arranged pairs of black quadrangular and rounded dots on its paramarginal dorsal stripe. The ventral coloration pattern is more regular with metameric pairs of light-colored markings and 5 pairs of eyes located on the anterior dorsal of the body, forming parabolic icon anally of 12, 4, 5, 6. And the male juniper is larger than female juniper, and they separated by 5 anally, and they have 5 eyes. The male 4 and female 4 located in the left and anally. And the other Hirudo orientalis widely used in the medicinal purpose for human treatment in Azerbaijan. There is a decrease in Hirudo orientalis in some habitats due to intensive use, climatic change, and environmental pollution in Azerbaijan. This species of medicinal leech prefers small and mesotrophic fresh water lakes in high mountains areas in Azerbaijan. It's not worth that there are frogs and water snakes in the lake. Orientalis has remained geographically isolated within arid and alpine areas, Central Asia and Transcaucasia, and the populations Orientalis are present in Iran, Azerbaijan, and the other Transcaucasia. The use of leech became so popular during the 20th century that the species became endemic in Azerbaijan. In the 1970s years, Azerbaijan was the main leech supplier of USA, USSR. Thus, in 1976, 1.1 million medicinal leaves were collected from lakes and rivers, and 1977, 100, 2065, 1978, 550 million, and sent to various republics of the USSR as well as to foreign countries. During these years, there was one medicinal leech farm in Molova village of Masala region. Unfortunately, this leech farm does not exist today. And the other way, we had some achievements on the last decade. In addition, leech breeding was carried out by us for the first time in a laboratory condition by consulting Professor Dr. Naim Salam and Dr. Adel Aliyev in 2017 in Anas Zoology Institute. Laboratory studies shown that during 9 months, the optimum temperature range for growth was 23 to 25 Celsius and late autumn between June and August. Currently, in many developed countries, there are many profitable leech farms. The medicinal leech, which especially widely used in human treatment, were needed breeding factors in sterile conditions. In order to carry out domestic and foreign trade of these economically important species, such factors and farms should be established in our country. One of these medicinal leech farms was building in Gabala city with the consultancy Professor Naim Salam 2 years ago in our country. And also the populations in our country have been preserved until today. The demand for medicinal leech in Azerbaijan led to a reduction in the numbers in the wild. Several countries now employ this species in their red book and endangered list appendix 2 of sites. In order to preserve the population and distribution in the wild, is aimed to include the indigenous medicinal leech in the red book created by the government of Azerbaijan. Thanks for your attention. Thank you all of us.
Şebnem Hanım, biz de sizlere teşekkür ederiz güzel sunum için.
Thank you very much, Şebnem, for the nice presentation. You talked about the situation of medicinal leech sector in our brotherly country of Azerbaijan. Thank you very much. You talked about good news about the opening of farms in Azerbaijan. We very welcome this good news. Thank you very much. And we know that we hope that such activities will take place more frequently in our countries. Distinguished participants, Şebnem is from Azerbaijan, and currently she is in the Faculty of Aquaculture of Elazığ University. She is doing her doctoral degree in Fırat University, Elazığ University currently. Hopefully, they're going to do good work together with Professor Naim. If you have any questions for our speaker, we would like to collect them. If any, we will collect the questions collectively at the end. If I may, first of all, I'd like to thank Professor Uteski and also Şebnem as well for the very nice information that they have provided. Shall I ask my question in English or Turkish? Which language should I use? You can ask in Turkish, sir. No problems. Well, the thing is, Mr. Utevsky, I have a question for you, if I may. Hybridization, you mentioned hybridization, and when you do hybridization, do you also do genetic analysis on the offspring that you produce? And have you looked at the molecular differences, if any, in the newly produced offsprings of those leech through hybridization? So hybridization, does it lead to some such changes? Well, there is another question in the chat box, if I may add that one to our speaker. One of the speakers says that about hybridization, about crossing, what is the purpose of crossing? Can you please walk us through the purposes and aims of crossing and hybridization, sir? So this was a question to our speaker. Sir, you have the floor.
Do you have any questions to me?
Yes, sir, they asked the questions to you. You didn't catch the question, sir?
Sayın Serge,
Did you ask about hybridization? Excuse me.
Yes, hybridization. Can you find differences of molecular analysis on the hybrid leeches?
So we didn't study hybrids genetically.
Yes.
We just studied them morphologically. Morphologically, there are some differences in their coloration. The coloration is transitional, something in between. But in the nature, we didn't find any hybrids. I think hybridization is very rare or uncommon in nature. Only at laboratory conditions it's possible, because leeches don't have any choice, and they cross with another species. But in the nature, I think it's not possible, so because of different preferences, especially to temperature. They reproduce at different temperature conditions, and that's why they cannot meet and they cross only with their own species.
Thank you very much, my colleague Sergey.
Evet.
Hello,
Thank
say your Ukraine.
Teşekkür ederiz Sayın Serge.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sergey. I think Mr. Haidar wants to say something. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you much for the very useful presentation. I mean, I have a question regarding the mapping of the different population over the Europe and other section. My question, okay, is there, I mean, this differentiation is reflected on the end products, for example, enzymes that are produced by the species, or is there any genetically superior population in terms of treatment, for example, or generation of enzymes? Thank you very much.
Sir, who did you ask your question to? Maybe we should have to underline that one.
Serge, soruyu duyabildiniz mi acaba?
Değilse ben
Sergey, did you get this question? I think Mr. Sergey is not using the interpretation channel or something. Sir, can you hear us?
Should I answer the question?
Haydar Bey, sorunuzu lütfen.
Yes, please. You got the question, please, yeah, Serge.
Okay.
Please, Hammond.
I didn't understand. Okay. As I know, so there are some publication by Professor Baskova, and they found that there are some differences between medicinal leech species in their enzymes and proteins of their saliva, but these differences, I would say, quantitative, not qualitative, quantitative.
Okay.
So the same proteins, the same enzymes, but their quantities are different in different species.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it's clear. Thank you.
Not at all.
Evet. Teşekkür ederiz Sayın Sergey Uteski.
Thank you.
Yanlış görmediysem Ayşegül Kubilay hocamızın bir söz talebi vardı.
If I see it
I think Ayşegül
correctly,
wanted to take the floor.
Ayşegül wanted to give a comment or ask a question.
Disconnection.
Mikrofonunuz kapalı şu an.
But your mic is off.
Hocam sesiniz
Yeah,
gelmiyor.
Ayşegül, you are muted.
Ha, şimdi geliyor mu?
Şu an
Sesimi
iyi hocam.
açtım
What
ama.
about now?
Tekrar Merhabalar herkese.
Okay, hello to everyone. With my best regards to each and every one of you, I would like to thank both presenters. I have a question for Miss Şebnem FARZALI. First, my best regards to Azerbaijan, and I would like to congratulate you on your doctorate study in Turkey. So I wonder the situation of leech breeding in Azerbaijan. Do you have any studies about it, and how is the breeding done? How is it going? Thank you. I would like to thank you for the question. Well, yes, in Azerbaijan, in fact, we had a greater leech population in the wild, but unfortunately the number decreased recently, and we are just starting the breeding activities, and Professor Naim has been contributing greatly to this initiative, especially in different towns, provinces, and districts. Wherever the structure is suitable, the operations have already started. I can say the number, I mean, the farms is just limited to 1 or 2, but I hope the number will increase. Thank you very much. Also, I would like to thank your mentor, your professor, for his contribution to your initiatives. And also I would like to thank the professor, Mr. Sağlam, for his international studies. Thank you.
Ayşegül Hocam çok teşekkür ederim.
And Professor Ayşegül, thank you. I would like to speak. In fact, it was not possible for me to raise the hand because I couldn't find the button, but we can hear you, Professor. You can just go on. Okay, thank you, Mr. Miss Ayşegül Kubilay. We are also closely watching your studies. Since I got the opportunity now, I would like to thank to your university and Mr. Mustafa. Of course, when I am delivering my presentation, I will mention these again. But once again, I would like to thank you for hosting such an important international event and bringing together the whole sector. In fact, I am in close contact with Azerbaijan. The works are going on in Azerbaijan since 2016. Formerly, they had one enterprise, but then it got closed down, and then there was talking, but in Gabala, they established a facility, I think, in 2017. However, their leeches died because of diseases. And then I got an invitation and I visited the enterprise, the facility. I found that the death of the leech was not related to a disease, but it was related to the faulty system. And now they do the breeding with the newly installed system. They breed 1 million individuals, and they are selling to Europe. Thank you. Thank you for these notes. Thank you for these explanations, Professor Naim Sağlam and Şebnem FARZALI. Thank you all.